Shalom. This week's Torah portion is called Parsha Shemini. Last week we read the portion connected with Passover, with Pesach. This week we're getting back to the weekly portions. We're in the middle of the third book of the Torah, the book of Vayikra. Parsha Shemini speaks about different things in connection with the Beis Hamikdash, but the end of the Parsha focuses on the kosher, which animals are kosher, which are not kosher. And it specifically gives over 4 different indications, 2 for animals and 2 for fish, that makes a kosher animal fish. What makes a kosher animal? Split hooves and chewing its cud. What makes a kosher fish? Scales and fins. Okay, what is it that we as Jewish people can learn from these 4 things? It's very beautiful. The idea of a split hoof, the hoof is the part of the animal that is the interface between the earth and the animal itself. Okay, and it has to have a split in it. Okay, what does that mean? That means we have a responsibility as people to shine, to influence in a positive way from our spiritual energy into the physical world, to enlighten the physical world with spiritual energy. Okay, but we have to chew our cud. Since the Torah encourages us to have an impact on our physical surroundings, to transform it from mundane into holy, we have to think once, twice, to chew your cud. Reconsider again where we're supposed to be involved, to be sure to protect ourselves, that we shouldn't become too connected to the physical. We should maintain our spiritual identity. We should be bodies, not bodies with souls, but souls with bodies. Okay, what about fish? The idea of a fish is scales and fins. Okay, that makes a kosher fish. The fish has a very special connection to people. Just like a fish can't live outside of its environment, it has to be surrounded by water. A Jewish person also can't live outside of his environment. He has to be surrounded by a Jewish environment, surrounded by a Torah environment, surrounded by a positive Jewish community. Okay, and in that context, what are scales? Right? So that means that the idea of a fish is the idea of a person completely involved in studying Torah. But studying Torah has 2 aspects to it. One, the scales. Just like the scales protect the fish, the scales, what protects a person? Their yirat shamayim, their being God-fearing. The more that a person is conscious of having God in his life, the more that they're protected, just like the scales of a fish's body. Okay, and the more that they have yirat shamayim, the more the Torah becomes alive from it. And that's really the second thing. Just like the fins of the animal help the fish fish shoot forward, almost to jump from place to place. Okay, there are fish without fins, like an eel. Okay, the eel can't surge forward the way that a fish with fins can. Okay, and what is his idea of fins on a spiritual basis? That's the idea of taking Torah ideas and innovating with them, making them relate to the person in a personal way, making them relate to the community, making them relate to other parts of Torah. The idea of chidushi Torah, innovating with Torah. Okay, and that's the idea of the fins. The 2 things that a fish shows us is, number 1, we have to be able to be totally in the Torah environment. We have to be able to both be God-fearing, and 2, as that God-fearing helps us to make innovative Torah ideas. Now, this very interesting idea is the Talmud says that every fish that has scales has fins, but not every fish that has fins has scales. What does that mean? Right? Every fish that has scales, every person that has yirat shamayim, is God-fearing, he can innovate with Torah. He can take the Torah to use it to be transformative for himself and for others. But not every fish that has fins has scales. It means there are a lot of people that take Torah ideas and use them the way they want to, but they're not God-fearing. We have to be wary of them. Just like we can't eat a fish with fins but no scales, we have to be wary of a person that takes Torah and uses it for his own purposes without worrying about God. Shabbat Shalom.